This is the Everything Weight Loss podcast with Shari Ware, where we talk about everything, all things, anything to do with weight loss, health, and wellness. So today I am talking to Lynda Gaiao. Lynda works with leaders in their field who have spent many years pouring their energy into what they do and have gone through many struggles to get where they are. But they find themselves questioning what the meaning and purpose of it all is. Lynda intuitively guides her clients to quit focusing on all the things that pull them away from their natural rhythm and flow. They discover exactly what is worth fighting and struggling for and feel deeply connected to their purpose. Through working with Lynda, they learn to maintain their natural rhythm no matter what adversity they face. They get to a place where they can enthusiastically share their practical and out-of-the-box solutions, transforming lives through their authentic message. As a result, they build their reputation and their legacy as the natural and influential leader they were born to be. If anybody's in business, that definitely sounds like where I want to be. I'm in business, and I'm sure that sounds like a good place to be for you. So first of all, let me welcome you to the show, Lynda. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me to come along. Good to be here.
Yes, definitely. And it's a conversation that is particularly relevant right now, I feel. So first of all, it's very important. Our stories are super important, and it helps others to know that they're not alone in the world with what's going on for them. So tell us, what is your story? Why do you do what you do?
I've always been really fascinated and interested in understanding human beings, how they operate, how their minds work, how they function. And I guess I've had a lifelong journey of studying and investigating this particular topic. It started off initially where I studied to become a teacher, and my passion with teaching, both in the classroom, and I was a swimming teacher for many years, was that inherent inside every single one of us are these innate or this nature within us. And in the first 7 years of life, if you study psychology or behavioral psychology, you'll understand that the first 7 years of life are the most crucial stages of life. This is where we receive the most imprinting and the most conditioning of life. And what I was really passionate about when I was studying teaching is about providing an environment and really awake, I guess, adults to be in those children's lives, to be able to bring out that nurture and to limit the negative conditioning in their lives, and to really empower those kids to see their value, see who they were, and to be able to live that regardless of what's around in life, because all of us have been children at some point, and we understand how cruel other children can be, right? They can bully and they can tease. And as many people as I have spoken to, they have a story which really starts in those formational years, where they were either had a really negative influence in terms of an adult in their life that said certain things to them, that devalued them as a person. And at some point, especially because we're so young and we're so easily influenced, we take that on. We take that on board as being the truth of who we are, when in actual fact, that is not the truth of who we are. That is our not self. And then what happens from there is we spend an entire lifetime trying to fix something that isn't even us to start off with. And this is where the dysfunction of most adults lies, in this needless and endless quest to fix something that isn't really broken to start off with. And this has really catapulted me into this position now, where I'm using an amazing system which, together with my intuitive gifts, really helps me to hone into what is you versus what is not you. And when you can really distinguish clearly between those two, it really empowers you to go on a transformational journey of letting go what is not you. It's a releasing, a surrendering, a trusting process. And when you can come to a place of really trusting who you are, this is the most magical gift that you can give to somebody, where we are really in an epidemic of self-hatred.
Yep.
People are so stuck in this self-hatred place, but they're hating the wrong thing. They're hating the thing that isn't even them to start off with. And so I really love being able to take people on this empowering and transformational journey where they can understand clearly the difference between their nature versus their nurture. So what they were born with, who they are, versus what they've accumulated along their journey. And, you know, myself, I was teased and bullied immensely as a child. And I really felt as if I wasn't given any coping strategies to understand how to deal with that. And as a teacher, you know, it was so important for me to help children to see that other people's words could have the power to really hurt you, but only if you allow it,
Yes.
only if you take it on board, only if you accept it as truth.
Yeah.
But you know, if you don't know the difference between the two of those, it's so easy to get misled and to fall into the shadow of something and to live your life through that shadow. And so when you know what the shadow is versus who you are, you can just have that awareness piece that constantly navigating through life from a place of trust, from authenticity, from this is who I am, you know, this is, I'm a powerful warrior, or whatever that natural element within you is. And life is so much more enjoyable from that place. You get into that natural flow and that natural rhythm of who you are versus constantly meeting resistance in life.
Yeah, definitely. Everything that you've said thus far is so valid, and we're not taught this stuff. Most children are certainly not taught that, and so they take on so much. I know that definitely that was me, as is so many people who are going to be listening or watching this episode. I know that there's going to be a lot of people who relate. So before we progress on, I really want to talk more about that nature versus nurture, because it is so important. What if I was to ask you, if you had a superpower, what would it be? What would your answer be?
My superpower is the ability to guide people to know the truth of themselves. It's really, I have this way of being able to connect almost to the center, to the heart of somebody, to really highlight for them that inner light, that truth of who they are versus what's not them. And this has been something that I've done my entire life, see the potential in people, see the wisdom in them, and help them to see that for themselves. Because people are essentially blinded through life, through conditioning, through whatever we've gone through, to that truth. And I really help to nurture out of them, hey, stop paying attention to the wrong things. Stop focusing your energy on the wrong things. Let's focus on what is correct for you. Let's focus on what is healthy for you. And let's see how your life unfolds from that place.
Beautiful. Okay, so tell us more. What do we need to know about nature versus nurture?
The nature is those gifts, talents, strengths, traits that you came into this life with. Some of them you're going to be consciously aware of, while others are unconscious. And the system that I use helps to show you what those are, to bring them to the forefront. Because what most of us are doing is we are investing all our time and energy into that conditioning layer, that nurture piece. So what we've learned along the way, what we've accumulated along the way. And essentially, the nature is kind of what's inherent in you. It doesn't matter what job you take on, what position you have in life, what culture you surrounded by, it's that core element, that core of who you are. And with that comes a decision-making strategy, which is unique to you, a way to navigate through life, a way to make decisions that comes from a place of trust versus thinking, analyzing, conceptualizing. And this is where a lot of us get into trouble. This world is very focused on the mind and thinking and how the mind works and analyzing and conceptualizing. And the mind can be an amazing tool when it is here to be shared, like your perspective, your viewpoint, what you see in the world. But what most people do is they turn that inwards. So they turn that focus on themselves and they make it as a way to correct who they are, fix who they think they are, right? And if we really start investigating thoughts, what you'll find is that thoughts happen to us. So we are reacting to the thoughts that are landing in our awareness, but we identify with them so clearly, we attach onto them, we create a story around them, and then this is the nurture piece that I'm talking about. So you nurture that, you fuel that, you invest energy and time into that, you build a massive story around it, and this becomes the lens through which you live your life. And when you can clearly delineate between nature versus nurture, what happens is you have this ability to navigate through life from a place of ease and flow, from a place of meaning and purpose, from a place of being able to understand exactly where to focus your energy on and where to withdraw it. And so instead of becoming depleted on a day-to-day basis, and this is what I see a lot in clients that I deal with, they feel like they have energy, but they've got this exhaustion layer that lies on top of that. They're just constantly feeling tired. And this is a clear signal that they are using their energy incorrectly, that they are focusing on the wrong things in life. And so when you can clearly show them, okay, well, let's stop focusing on the wrong things. Let's go back to your nature. Let's focus here and see how life unfolds, and trusting. It's just amazing to see the transformation that happens in people's lives.
Yeah, you talked before about thoughts, and I know certainly something that I've identified in my own life and also in the lives of the people that I work with is that a lot of people have so many thoughts that they actually didn't realise were not their thoughts. They were somebody else's thoughts, and along the way, for whatever reason, they've adopted them as their own. So it can be very confusing, can't it? Which is why so many people end up in the situation that you've described. So what would be the way, if somebody was to be listening to this or watching this, what would be something that, or some things that they could do that's going to help them to tap into and identify their true nature, who they are at the core of themselves, and focus on that?
Well, most people are operating on autopilot. They are just kind of going through the motions. They don't even know where they picked up that program, that autopilot program.
It's even aware of the program sometimes.
Absolutely. And so any tool that's going to disrupt or kind of throw a spanner into the works, where you actually can break that cycle, where you can become aware of that pattern and how it is operating in your life, because awareness is the most crucial aspect here. If you don't know that something's happening, you cannot release it. It is going to rule your life. It is going to control you, and you're going to continue working on autopilot. And you're going to constantly be asking your question, why do I keep ending up in the same places? Why does this keep happening to me? Why are my relationships always so dysfunctional? Why do I feel emotions in this way? Why do I keep thinking these patterns? Why do I get latched onto these concepts? Why do I feel like I don't know what my purpose or my identity is? Why do I follow people blindly without even having a separation between myself and them? So until you can kind of throw some kind of process in there that disrupts that flow, disrupts that pattern, you're going to remain stuck. You're going to stay in that place. And there are many different tools out there for awareness. And I've practiced many of them along the way, which have all been essential, I guess, along my journey. So, meditation, mindfulness, journaling, creating some kind of sacred practice in your life that helps you. I even recommend sometimes creating random alarms on your phone, which will disrupt you in random times of your day, because what people have a tendency to do, they might sit on the meditation pillow for 10 minutes, which is amazing. They're greatly connected. They're very aware, but as soon as they step off the meditation pillow, they're back into their everyday life. Yeah. And so finding a way to be constantly aware in every moment is really the key thing. And I have not found anything more powerful for me than the system that I'm currently using to create that awareness, to create that understanding of This is the pattern that I am constantly going to be exposed to my entire life. This is the conditioning that is always going to show up for me, because even if you know these things, it does not mean the conditioning goes away. Just because you know something doesn't mean that the external influences change. The external influences are going to be there for your entire life. The power is in your own awareness and your own ability to disrupt that process and go, I'm aware of you, I know you exist, and you no longer control me. You no longer drive my actions. You no longer dictate where I'm going. I'm no longer unconscious. I'm no longer operating on autopilot. I'm aware.
Yeah, awesome. It sounds like I'm a big one for routine. I find my life is better with routine. However, I can identify from what you've said that routine can often be not helpful or not serving us in this instance. So we need to be interrupting that routine with something like an alarm on our phone to make us stop and become more aware and mindful. That sounds like a really good tool. I'm going to implement that. Thank you. What else do we need to know?
I think what you're saying about the routine, if we've got a healthy routine in place, it's great. We can kind of let it be. But some people are, depending on their design,
Yes.
some people routine is actually detrimental for them.
Yeah.
They need diversity. They need change. They need lots of different things. And so I'm very cautious to create one solution fits all, because the part of the system that I'm using is that every single person is unique. And so, yes, there's great gurus out there. There's people out there that have found things that have worked in their life. But if you're following people blindly because they say that it's worked in their life, you are essentially doing yourself a great disservice. When you can empower yourself to truly understand from within you what is healthy and correct for you, not what other people tell you, not what other people say, not other examples, not believing anything out there, but testing and self-validating for yourself what is aligned for you. When you can live from that place, now you're empowered.
And that's what I say to people all the time, is that it's nothing is a one size fits all. There is always going to be things that work for us and things that work for other people that just are not going to work for us, because that's not who we are. So it's definitely sometimes it's about trial and error and really tapping into that feeling inside of us that tells us if we listen to it, if we take the time. I know that I have an inner voice, definitely, and sometimes I just don't listen to it. So it's about taking the time out to really tune in and listen to it, for me, definitely. So what is there anything that we haven't spoken about that's important in the nature versus nurture? You're the expert on this subject, definitely. So what else do we need to know that can help us?
What I see a lot in the world is that people are going through a lot of suffering, and a lot of people are struggling to keep their heads afloat in this material world. But when you can get to a place of knowing who you are, why you're here, what you have to offer in this world, and you can trust that you, this exact, perfect, amazing, unique version of you, is needed right now at this time, and you know what that is, life will give you exactly what you need.
That's beautiful. My last question is usually, what's the one thing you want people to know after listening to this episode? And I think that's it. That's exactly what you want people to know, which is beautiful. I love that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, this is a big topic. I know that there are lots of other things in this realm that you are able to speak about. And we actually had a conversation before this episode when we were talking about what we were going to discuss in particular on this episode. And it's just too much for one episode, which is why we chose this. And I think we made a very good choice, because this is really the first step, really, for people to get where they want to get to, that that place that you help them get to, finding their natural self, not their nurture self. So I know that you have some links and things that you would like me to share in the show notes. Do you have anything coming up that you would like people to be aware of that they can tap into?
I have a webinar coming up at the end of November where I'm speaking specifically to shifting from just surviving to thriving. Because if the last 18 months has taught us anything, it's that the unexpected can really happen. No one could have predicted that COVID-19 would have changed the business landscape in the way that it has.
Yeah.
And the key element here is the ability to adapt and innovate in changing times. And if you're running a business and you're not tapping into this potential, these dynamics within each individual person in your team and in your organization, there is a high likelihood that you are going to become an irrelevant business in the near future. And so I'd encourage anyone who feels like that is for them to come along and to learn a little bit more about how to shift your business and your team from just surviving to thriving, and tapping into what we've discussed today as a fundamental for doing that.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so I will put the link to that plus other links to connect with Lynda further if you would like to do that in the show notes. And
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today, Lynda. It's been awesome to talk to you.
Thanks, Shari. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And I will see you all on the next episode. See ya.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining me on this episode. Remember to check out the show notes, and if you have any comments, feedback or suggestions, I'd love to hear them. If you've received value from this podcast, make sure to subscribe, and I'd love you to rate and review the show. Have a fabulous day.